Hello everyone, I am back with another video, and in today's video I'm going to be talking about the 9 books I read in September. I've never read that many books in a month. I'm very proud of myself, and I finished my entire September TBR. Who would have thought? Who would have thought? I read 5 different genres this month, or last month. 4 romance books, 1 sci-fi, I think that's what it's considered, 1 mystery, 1 horror/thriller, 1 lit fic, and then 1 memoir. And altogether it was 2,974 pages. That's insane. But I'm gonna go in order of the books that I read from the first one to the very last one. And this time I don't have to show you the books that I didn't read because I read them all. The first book I read was in a video. The first 4-ish books that you're gonna see were in videos, so you guys have seen my thoughts on them. The first one is Ready Player One by Ernest Cline. I talked in great lengths about this book, and I think it was reading books I've been putting off. I gave this book a 5-star. So in this book you're following Wade, and it's a dystopian in the fact that in the real world, it is very dark. Everyone kind of does the same thing, and then they have this virtual world called the Oasis, which is where most of the book takes place, and that is kind of where everyone is all the time, and it is virtual, so you don't know what anyone really looks like. Most people don't use their real names, and Wade is the main character, and we are following him, and they are trying to find the Easter eggs and find these keys that is left by the creator of the Oasis, who has passed away. He has hidden these keys around the game, around the worlds in the game, to then have someone collect this fortune and then be the owner of the Oasis after him. It's been years and no one has made any progress on this hunt, and Parzival, aka Wade, then finds the key. He finds the first key, and it kind of changes his life in a way, because he then becomes very like a celebrity essentially, but it also brings about a lot of problems for him, because there is the antagonist of this book is this owner. I think he's the owner of the IOI, and he is trying to secure the rights to the Oasis so that he can kind of change everything. And there's these group of Gunters, which is technically what Wade is, that is trying to stop that from happening. So it is very high stakes in a way, because this owner of the IOI is not afraid to go to drastic measures to make sure he is the one that finds all 3 clues and then wins. So yeah, this book, there's a lot of things that goes into this book, but I think my favorite part about this book is very fast-paced. There's not really many points in the book where nothing is happening. There's kind of something always happening, and also the found family in this book is amazing, because in this book the characters are not seeing anyone's like real identity, so they're kind of getting to know each other from what that person is presenting themselves as on the internet. And then towards the end, there is situations that kind of force them to see each other in real life, and the way that they handled those situations and the way they supported each other throughout that. Beautiful. If you are not someone who tends to read sci-fi or dystopian, I love a dystopian book, I won't lie, I do. I am not necessarily a fan of sci-fi, I just don't read a lot of it, but I do love dystopian. I think that if you are not someone who reads those genres, I think you should still read this. I think this is a book that everyone will like, especially if you like pop culture references. There's a lot of references to a lot of movies and a lot of songs in the 80s. So if you're into that, I think you would enjoy this. But yeah, this was the first book I read of the month. The next book I read was The Deal of a Lifetime by Frederick Bachman. This is a novella. I have all of his books, all of his fiction books, and this is one of his novellas, and it's literally 65 pages. Read it in like an hour. And this was sad. One of the saddest books I've ever read. And it was 65 pages. I have a problem with the fact I can't rate his books anything lower than a 5 stars. It's never happened, and I don't think it's ever going to happen. In this book, we are following this man. I'm not sure if we ever figure out what it is that he is sick, but this man is sick. I don't know if he had cancer. I'm not sure. But he is sick, and we are following his point of view. He is in like a hospital. I'm trying to explain this without spoiling everything. It's really difficult because the book is short. He's in this hospital, and he meets this little girl, and she has cancer. And there is this lady who I forget what he describes her as, but she's kind of like the Grim Reaper in a way. Whenever someone is about to die, she will show up. And this lady keeps showing up to check on this little girl, and he sees that. And this man has had a very rocky relationship with his son. At the beginning, he kind of, in a way, abandoned his son, and he's just like, well, like, I gave you everything you need, so you don't really need like my love and care, because like I gave you money. But his son doesn't want that, so he has a very rocky relationship with his son. And I think when he sees this little girl, he kind of starts to have doubts and starts to rethink that relationship that he had with his son. And it's called The Deal of a Lifetime. Well, I'm not going to tell you that. Just read it. It's 65 pages. It'll take you an hour. Really sad. I cried. 5 stars. Next is a book that was also in reading books I've been putting off, and it is The Inheritance Games by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. This was one of the books that I wanted to read before 2024 ends, and I read it. What to say? It wasn't a bad book. I think I am still not sure what I'm gonna rate this. It's between a 3.5 and a 3.75. But like, I don't know. It just wasn't enough mystery for me to classify this as a mystery. It, to me, personally, felt like a romance book with a mystery plot instead of the other way around. And I think that's what this is supposed to be. I think it's supposed to be a mystery book with a subplot of romance, and that's just not what I was getting from this. I also hate a love triangle, so it's a me problem with that, because I feel like if I enjoyed the romance, then maybe this would be higher. But because I didn't enjoy the romance, and because it was a love triangle, it just annoyed me. It really annoyed me. But I do like Xander. And Nash. I'm iffy about Grayson and Jameson. I don't know. I don't know. I just wish that there was more mystery and more puzzles and more like riddles and stuff, because that's what I thought I was getting with this, and that's just not what I got. I guess I should tell you what this is about. In this book, you're following Avery Grams, who is basically, she's poor, and her mom passed away, and her father, she does not know who her father is. She's never seen him. She doesn't know if he's alive. She doesn't know who he is. And randomly, she's in school, and she randomly gets sent down to the principal's office, and there's this guy, Grayson, waiting in the principal's office, and he's like, you need to come with me, because apparently she hasn't inherited a fortune from Tobias Hawthorne. She doesn't know this man. He is a trillionaire. He's rich. He's a rich man, and he gave his fortune to her. His fortune, his house to her, and the rest of his family got basically nothing. Compared to what he has, they basically got nothing. And people in this book, you're kind of trying to figure out like, why is Avery the one that got all of this? How does Avery know him? What did Avery do? And you don't figure out any of that. Nothing. But the ending of this book is the only reason why I will be continuing on with the series, because one, I feel like it won't focus on Avery as much, because I feel like it set it up to be about someone else. And I don't know, I'm intrigued by this ending, so I do want to finish the series, but this was not as good as I was expecting it to be. But it wasn't bad. I guess my expectations were just a bit higher than what I got, and that's fine. Next, we got Happy Place by Emily Henry. I have read 2 other Emily Henry books before this, and the first one I gave a 3. I did not like Book Lovers. The second one, Beach Read, I gave a 4.5, something like that. This I gave a 5. And I think because this book is a lot deeper than her other books, I like a book that makes me feel. I do, and this book made me feel. This book, because I feel like this book wasn't just about the romance. This book gave me a lot more than just romance, because we're also talking about friendships in this book. The characters are older, which makes them more fleshed out, and it just felt a lot more, what's the word, mature? Is that the word I'm looking for? I don't know. But so Harriet and Wynne are the main characters. You get solely Harriet's point of view, and they have this friend group, and this friend group goes to, what's the place? They go to Maine every year for like this vacation. They go every year, and they rent this cottage, or they don't rent it because it's Sabrina's parents' house. They go to this cottage and they spend a week there. And this time, it is the last time Sabrina's family is selling the cottage, so this is the last time that they're going to be there. But Harriet and Wynne have broken up. They were engaged. They got together through the friend group, and they got engaged, and this last time they are broken up. But they do not want to ruin the vacation, so they pretend to still be together. Harriet and Wynne broke up 5 months ago, and didn't tell anyone. Their family doesn't know, their friends don't know, which is why they have to then pretend to still be in a relationship while on this vacation. But we see that when they are all together, there's a lot of different dynamics and layers to this friend group. There is points in time where you see why they would want to keep things to themselves, but also why it's hard for them to keep things for themselves, because there's so much going on within this friend group. They have literally been friends since they got out of high school. Like, they went to college and that's where they met, and now they're in their 30s and are still friends. They've known each other half of their lives. So you see all of these different situations happening and all of the different reactions that are happening. And I don't know, it's a very deep book. There's a lot of things being talked about. There is fear of commitment, there is marriage, there is like talks about feeling like you're not good enough, like in not in just like relationships, but also in like your work life. Just, it was a lot. But I definitely, with this book, I understand what people say when they are like, Emily Henry's books feel more like a literary fiction with a subplot of romance, and this book gave me that. Beach Read and Book Lovers did not give me that, but this did, and I think that's why it's a 5-star, because I do like deeper books. So the next book I read was another book in that video. The 1, 2, 3, 4 we're all in that video. The Girl with All the Gifts by Emma Carey. I watched this movie, still love the movie. This book did not ruin the movie for me like Room ruined the movie for me, like it did with that. This book, I will still watch the movie. This book just didn't give me anything. This book was a 3-star. It was okay. But it kind of like, I feel like there was so much more that this book could have done that just didn't get done. It really just didn't. In this book, we are following Melanie, and she does not know that she is a hungry. And what a hungry is a cannibal. That's what a hungry is. She does not know what she is. All she knows is that she has been in this place. She's been in this place. She like literally gets locked in her room whenever she's not in class. When she is in class, she has to be strapped into a chair. Her arms are strapped, her forehead strapped, and that like so that she can't get to anyone. But she doesn't know why she's doing this. This has been all she knows her life. This is all she knows. And she knows that on Sunday she has to go take a shower so that they can spray this nasty smelling thing, which masks the human smell. But she, once again, does not know any of this. She is very naive. She doesn't know what is happening, and she develops this care or this idolization with her teacher, Miss Justino, I think her name is. And she then tries to do as much as she can to save or make Miss Justino happy. And Miss Justino also takes liking to Melanie and tries to help Melanie when Melanie is put into danger. My thing with this book, because the book was not bad, I think that my thing is, it was the ending. It was very mid the entire way through, I'm not gonna lie, which is, like, it's fine. But the ending, I felt was so underwhelming. It was so boring. Like, nothing happened. Like, the ending was, dare I say, stupid? I think so. It's like, it compared to what was happening before, the amount of stuff that was happening before, and then you end it like that, I don't think so. No, I'm not a fan. But there is a second book in like this series, and I'm not gonna read it. This is enough for me. I will just stick to watching the movie. This wasn't bad. It just wasn't great, and that's okay. This is young adult though, so I mean, I guess that makes sense. But yeah, if you want to read it, by all means do it. But it was just a bit underwhelming, just a little bit. The next book I read was a memoir, and it's a memoir that I've been wanting to read for a very long time, actually, since it came out, and that is Britney Spears' memoir. I think that we've heard so much in the media about Britney Spears, and most of it that does not come from her. So I really wanted to read this because I really want to hear her side of the story, and I'm really glad I read this, because all around you just hear people like, oh, Britney Spears, yeah, she's crazy, oh, she's this, oh, she's that, but really she's not. She's really not. And I think this book is, since it is told from her point of view, you see things differently, and you're like, oh, maybe I did judge her on something that I didn't know anything about, because there were so many things going on in her life that really no one had any idea was happening, that then made her react certain ways. But she's not crazy. I don't want to say anything. I think that Britney Spears is very misunderstood, and I think people hear things about her and are kind of just like, well, that's that, and it's not. I think that she was failed by a lot of the people in her life that should have been helping her, specifically her parents have failed her a lot and should have been there in times where she needed the help, because there were a lot of times that she has talked about where she just needed someone to help her, and she was not given that help, and people kind of just took advantage of the fact that she was struggling instead of helping her. And you see her family doing this, you see her managers doing this, you see the people that she's in relationships with doing this, and I think that if you already have like your thoughts about Britney Spears, I think you should read this, because I think it will change the way that you view how she acts. So I don't rate memoirs. I think it's a bit insensitive to rate someone else's like true story, something that really happens to them. So I don't rate it. So I'm not gonna rate this, but I do think it is a very powerful memoir. The last 3 books that I'm gonna talk about are all fan favorites. Everyone loves these books. My opinions are different, but that's okay. The 7-Year Slip. This book, I think I'm gonna give it a 4.25. Or maybe a 4.5. It wasn't bad. I liked it. I thought it was cute. But I went into this thinking, because everybody's like, oh my gosh, the way they first met, like, oh my gosh, it was horrible. You guys lied. You guys are liars, and you lied to me, and I don't appreciate it, because not horrible at all. In fact, when they first met each other, first of all, she didn't know who he was, he didn't know who she was. They didn't even recognize each other. Second of all, when they did recognize each other, nothing happened. In fact, I thought it was actually one of the more like happier, like second chance meet cutes, whatever. Nothing bad happened. I think that this was cute. I think that this was beautifully written. The way Ashley Poston writes is very beautiful. I, however, think that this was predictable. From the very beginning, I knew who the love interest was when she first met him in her aunt's, like, when she first met him in her aunt's house, and he brought out his belongings. I immediately knew who he was in the present day. That was like, how many pages in was that? It was chapter 4, page 33, out of like a 400-page book. Actually, it's not 400 pages. I'm being a bit dramatic. Out of a 330-page book. I already knew it was going to happen 300 pages before the book ended. I finished it, and I thought it was cute, and I tabbed, so I got things out of it. But it was just a bit predictable. Anyways, in this book, you are following Clementine. She is the main character. She is who you are with the entire story. And she has this aunt named Analia. And her aunt has always told her these stories. Her aunt has always been a bit eccentric. And her aunt has taken her on vacations her entire life. For every year, for her entire life, her aunt has taken her on vacations. And her aunt has told her these stories that she has this magical apartment that would take her back 7 years or bring her forward 7 years. And Clementine is always like, yeah, it's just a story, like, it's not real, blah, blah, blah. And then her aunt passes away. Her aunt dies, and her aunt gave her this apartment. So she ends up moving into this apartment, and it happens to her. And she meets this guy. His name is Ewan, and I think it's self-explanatory. They have a romance, and then they end up meeting each other at some point in the real life, and things go from there. I will not spoil anything. There's not really much to spoil, but I won't. I think it was cute. It was a fast read. I just thought it was a bit predictable, but it was a cute story. So I'm gonna give it a 4.25. I think this book does live up to the hype. Second to last book I read was Better Than the Movies by Lynn Painter. I feel really bad. I feel really bad saying this, because I did not like this. I thought this was so boring. And I know this is a fan favorite. Everyone loves this book, but I just did not like it. It just wasn't a book for me. It read really young. And also maybe it's because I just don't watch rom-coms. The only rom-com they talked about in this book that I watched was 10 Things I Hate About You. Love that movie, but that's the only one that like they referenced that I knew. So maybe like that's the problem. But also like I liked Wes. Like, he was cool. But what was her name? Liz? I don't like her. I don't like her. I thought she was boring, and I thought she was self-centered, and I thought that she thought that everything should be surrounded by her, and that's not how life works. It was just really, she was annoying. The book was boring. The book was predictable, and I didn't enjoy it. I'm gonna give this a 3 or a 3.2, something like that. It's not gonna get anything higher than 3.5, but I think if you're interested in this, you should read this. I am the only person that did not like this book. Everyone else loves this book. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I feel like I'm reading a completely different book than everyone else, because everyone else loves this book. It's like how I felt about Magnolia Parks. Everyone loves that book, and I did not like that. And it's the same way I feel about this. I don't understand. And that's okay. It's just not for me. So I will not be reading the sequel that literally just came out. I will not be reading it. But I will tell you what the book is about, I guess. We are following Liz Buxbaum, who her mom passed away, and her mom and her used to always watch these rom-coms, and Liz basically thinks that her life is rom-com. No one's life is rom-com, and she is basically basing her life around these rom-coms, trying to make her life be like a rom-com. And so she had this crush when she was a little girl. His name was Michael, and he ended up moving away. And then he comes back, and she's like, oh, this is my chance. This is my chance. We're gonna have a meet cute. He's gonna fall in love with me, and we're gonna have babies. That didn't happen, because that's not how life works. And when she figures out that he may be into someone else, she is like, well, I'm just gonna get someone to like pretend like we're together so that I can get the guy. Here's the thing. Fake dating. I love a fake dating trope. Love it. Not this one. Not this one. It was, I don't know. I don't know what it is about the book that I don't like. It was just not for me. It just wasn't for me, and that's okay. But a lot of people love this book. So if you want to read it, read it. It just wasn't my cup of tea, and that's okay. The last book I read was probably my most anticipated book of this year. And it came through. It surely did. And that was Daydream by Hannah Grace. Oh. This book. I have been waiting since I read Icebreaker. I read Icebreaker in October of 2023. I have been waiting for this book to come out. Was it October or was it September? I think it was October. I have been waiting for this book to come out. Ever since I saw Henry in the first book, I was like, oh, I need his book. And Hannah Grace did not disappoint with this book. She gave me everything I needed and more. I had expectations for this book, and this book passed those expectations. This book is a 5-star, if you can't tell by how I'm talking about it. In this book, we are following Hallie and Henry. Hallie is this bookworm, overachiever, perfectionist girl, right? And then we have Henry, who is a hockey player, and Henry has been struggling in one of his classes, and he basically needs help, and Hallie offers to help him. And Hallie just got out of a relationship. Let me tell you, that first chapter was the most infuriating chapter I've ever read in my entire life. The audacity that Will has to be talking about someone like that is insane. Insane. But that has nothing, we don't need to talk about that. She just got out of a breakup with Will. So, and she is very much a people pleaser. She is a yes girl. She does everything that everyone wants her to do. She's also the oldest daughter, so she is kind of the second mom. She gets asked to do everything, and because she is a people pleaser, she's like, yeah, I'll do it, to literally everything that people asked her to do. And Henry is, Hannah Grace has talked about it in her author's note, which is right at the beginning of the book. Henry is on the spectrum, but he does not get a diagnosis in this book. But Hannah Grace has confirmed that he is on the spectrum, and he does have trouble with social settings and kind of with social cues and being able to react to situations the way that it is socially, quote unquote, acceptable to react to situations. He also has trouble expressing his emotions. And so these two spark up a friendship. I have so many tabs in this book. I don't think I've ever related to two characters more than I relate to Hallie and Henry. Hallie is very much, I could literally flip to any page in this book and read a quote and be able to relate to the quote that is being talked about. Henry is very much hard. He's very hard on himself. He does not like to do things that he doesn't understand, and when he is doing things that he doesn't understand, he does not like it because he doesn't like to be confused. He also doesn't like to think that he is not doing quality work or not doing things that are good for him. If it's not going to benefit him, he doesn't want to do it, basically. And Hallie is she is not so much hard on herself. Well, she is, because she's a perfectionist and she wants everything done, but also she just doesn't have the time because she's doing so many things for other people, and she is very hyper aware of how other people are thinking about her. And so she tries to accommodate everybody. And we see the family dynamics of her family. They're constantly asking her to do things. Even Will, her ex-boyfriend, is constantly asking her to do things. And she feels really bad when she has to say no because she does not want people to be upset with her. She doesn't want people to be disappointed at her. So she feels like she needs to just be constantly doing things for other people. And she feels very selfish when she then is doing things for herself. I love this book. The found family in this book. I don't know if this book is going to be the last book in the series. I do not know. I hope it's not, because I love seeing these characters. But within this book, because Henry lives in this house that he lives in with some of the other hockey players, and you're seeing the people from the other books. Like, you're seeing Anastasia and Nate, and you're seeing Russ and Aurora, and just being able to see how close they've gotten and how they support each other is a beautiful thing to see. But Hannah Grace's books are so easy to get through. They're so easy to read. Like, this is a 400-page book, and I think I read it in 2 days. I think. It's just so good. So please read this. Please read this. If my tabs don't say enough, listen to me and read the books. So these are the 9 books that I read this month. I think it was a great reading month, quite honestly. I think I had 4 5-star reads this month. That's the most 5-star reads I've had in a month, and I'm happy with it. I think overall this was a good reading month. I've had a few disappointments, which you're gonna have when reading books, but overall I'm happy with what I read. I'm happy that I got my TBR finished, because who would have thought that would have happened? No one. But yeah, if you guys have read any of these books, tell me how you feel about them. Tell me your opinions, and I will see you guys next Tuesday. Bye.